An FTX class action lawsuit just got filed against some pretty big names like Tom Brady, Giselle, Steph Curry, the entire Golden State Warriors, Shaquille O'Neal, Trevor Lawrence, Naomi Osaka, Kevin Leary, and many others who are some pretty big names that actually promoted FTX to obviously anyone who followed them and led to a lot of this money being lost through FTX collapse. So it makes more sense now why these financial YouTubers who also promoted FTX were deleting their channels and deleting the past with it to try and get rid of their relationship with FTX, probably to try and not go down this lawsuit road. But it really doesn't matter because if these big names are being sued, we could see these YouTubers be thrown into the same situation. And even in this lawsuit, they bring up pretty good precedents to say why they should be able to hold these other people accountable to some degree and maybe even get some money from them because they got paid to promote this. They talk about the SEC taking an action against the boxing champ Floyd Mayweather and music producer DJ Khaled after they were paid by cryptocurrency issuers to tweet promotional statements about investing in initial coin offerings, ordering them both to pay disgorgement penalties and interest for promoting investments in ICOs, including one from cryptocurrency issuer Centra Tech, for a combined total of $767,500 because they failed to disclose their promotional efforts on Twitter were paid endorsements. So this is kind of saying that there is a precedent to go after people who are promoting things that end up collapsing in value or being scams. And this kind of doesn't really apply too much because a lot of people that did promote this, it was out there that they were getting paid. They were getting paid to promote it. I don't know if they could really try and spin it that way because obviously people were out there. But it is a little bit of a precedent to go towards that cryptocurrency and advertising them. You could be held accountable if they end up collapsing. And they have another one saying other celebrities similarly accused and prosecuted for failing to disclose their paid endorsements include Kim Kardashian and basketball player Paul Pierce. According to the Federal Trade Commission, cryptocurrency scams have increased more than tenfold year over year, with consumers losing more than $80 million since October 2020, due in large part to the use of such celebrity endorsements. So, kind of down the same road, saying, these guys made money endorsing something, and the people who listen to them end up losing all of their money. Again, I don't know how much you can go after them not saying that they were getting paid. I think a lot of people on YouTube, at least, it was said they were getting paid. But this is precedent to say you can hold people accountable for promoting these things that they end up collapsing and being scams. And the amount of money that is supposedly gotten lost because of this FTX collapse is actually ridiculous amount. They say it in the lawsuit, saying FTX quickly became one of the most utilized avenues for nascent investors to purchase cryptocurrency. By the time FTX filed for bankruptcy protection, customers had entrusted billions of dollars to it, with estimates ranging from 10 to $50 billion, which a lot of the estimates saying that, Bankman Fried and FTX only were able to kind of save 10 cents on the dollar to the assets that they had on this bank run, meaning at best case scenario, you might be able to get 10% of your money back, but that still might not be the case because of the hack that happened that could have been insiders actually doing. But the absolute best case that you have is that FTX still has 10% of what they're supposed to, especially because there is still a lot of controversy about what happened after they declared bankruptcy and the money that started moving. You can see here, you have Sam Bankman-Fried, who's been accused in court documents of gaining unauthorized access to FTX systems after filing for bankruptcy to transfer digital assets to the Bahamas government, which is turning into a big deal because the assets that FTX had for FTX US, they're all kind of intertwined, but FTX had the majority of the assets. And right now, we have the Securities Commission of the Bahamas is assuming control of the assets of FTX digital markets. So, like the FTX overall global international kind of firm, which is supposed to be separate than US, but we all know it's not really the case. But the Bahamas is taking control under their assets, which has led to FTX liquidator John Ray claiming today that these assets, only real assets FTX, should be party of the U.S. bankruptcy case. Without them, the FTX bankruptcy is a Chapter 7, and the Bahamas just sequestered the assets, leaving the U.S. case with nothing. So there's a lot of just weird moving parts. Everything's going on. The class action lawsuit, the bankruptcy not going as planned, and assets might just be anywhere and everywhere. Nobody really knows what's going on. And for the US, you might have just lost everything because the Bahamas might have taken all the assets that FTX has. So not only are these problems coming up, and this is leading to more and more problems as the time goes on, we actually have some really weird news with how FTX started and their banks. As you can see with this, and in these texts that are released, these DMs, that you can see them kind of talking about FTX, saying, oh, FTX doesn't have a bank account. I guess people can wire to Almeida's to get money on FTX. And then that led into a bunch of billions of dollars leading its way into there. And them going, oh my God, this money is here. How did that happen? When they set it up that way. And even people were saying, this is the bank account I've been told to send money to, and using FTX OTC, clearly stating I'm sending to Alameda, not FTX. How did none of us ever see said anything? It was here in plain sight, which you can see. This wire here, when you're sending money, was to Almeida Research Ltd. It wasn't even addressed to FTX, and yet people still blindly ignored that. All of these signs that things might be going wrong and something weird could be happening was ignored for whatever reason, and it was just put off until $30 billion all of a sudden evaporated into nothingness. So FTX bankruptcy, not going super successful, not really seeing a clean end to that, and a class action lawsuit launched against the promoters of FTX with a little bit of precedent there that they might actually be able to get some of the money back. Probably the money that FTX paid them, because after all, that was probably customers' money. And it wouldn't shock me to see YouTubers who got into this scheme too being held accountable and maybe even being roped into this lawsuit, and that's why they're running away from their relationships, deleting videos, and trying to cover the past. Either way, we are a long ways away from this being finished. Everything could get so much more crazy, and who knows what's going to happen. If you have money that was frozen at FTX, the best thing you could probably do is write it off to zero and try and come back from it. So we will see where this all goes. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And I'll see you guys in my next